When I thought about you coming today, I reflected back on the really early days of the center, 30 plus years. And
last time you said that, I said,
it's been a while. And how important it was to this experiment that you and Father Weiss, then the president of Rutgers College, agreed to be on this board. One question I have for you is why? Why in the world would you have risked your reputation, your credibility to do that?
Boy, Myra, none of those things seem to have resonated in any fashion. Maybe they should have at the time, but it just seems so important as medicine was starting to become an even more human, humane, discerningly empowering expression of how people deal with their lives. It just seemed the right thing.
Right.
I never for a moment did I think, oh my goodness, this is dangerous, or this is risky, or this might open me up to some kind of criticism. Now maybe I should have, but it was just a reasonable thing.
I'm glad you didn't.
Me too. Me too.
And you know, we were really...
Especially, by the way, when I see commercial message, how unbelievable this expression of humanity and concern for people's lives has expanded well beyond anything I ever envisioned. I'm probably not.
I think
short of
true
some of
for
yours,
all of
but,
us.
yeah.
But I'm very proud of what we've accomplished.
And you deserve to be.
Well, all of us have worked together to accomplish. So you say that at that time, now we're talking mid-'80s, that medicine was kind of reawakening to the humanities and the importance of that aspect of medicine. But we were also realizing that with the biotechnology, really bodily function could be sustained indefinitely. So early on, there were some amazing opportunities that came to the center. But certainly one of the mainstays of our early work was around how to use the technology, how to use it. And many people thought, they weren't even, it was not imaginable that we had the right to choose or refuse life-sustaining treatment.
Right.
And so bioethics was trying to help people grapple with that. And as you know, one of the stories that you told was so helpful. You know, all the early board members did education and training. And I still remember and still use your story about a rabbi who was beloved by many. And as he was dying, his students came to pray for him and for prolonged life. And a housemaid who was standing, and I probably get the story wrong.
So far you're doing great.
Standing at a balcony above, thought there was something wrong, and she intentionally knocked a pot.
The Talmudic expression about it is what to do. The rabbi is caught in a struggle between those below, his students, who are praying, and of course they believe, even as we have evidence nowadays, that prayer is an effectual discipline. But those above want him to join them. And literally the soul was in an agonizing position, is how the Talmudic discussion describes it. And she dropped a flower pot, which distracted the rabbi's students, Rabbi Judah, the prince. By the way, he's the compiler of the Mishnah. So we're not just talking about some rabbi in the street. We're talking about one of the most important rabbis in Jewish history. And in that moment, their prayer was interrupted, and he was able to die. And that is viewed as a withdrawal of treatment and a praiseworthy action on her part.
You know, it was so helpful.
There's a time to live and a time to die.
It was so helpful for you to tell the story, because I think it also kind of interrupted thought that was common at that point, that even to choose not to have treatment or certainly to withdraw treatment could be seen as suicide or an assisted suicide.
Right. Yeah, we've come a long way, even as there's still extraordinary challenges in, do we have autonomy? Do we not have autonomy? And that's where the nexus of where so much of what's going on now in terms of ethical debate and about what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, what is the nature of the treatment that do I have a right to refuse? Do I have a right to step back? And some say yes and some say no, which is why we need a center.
Right. Well, and you know, Michael, too, early on, I think that many people felt that it was contrary to their faith, and that to make such decisions would have negative consequences for them, some for all of eternity, but others certainly within their community. And, we were kind of, I remember a person calling me an autonomy wacko one day, because we really were trying to push for that.
Yeah.
We were moving out of a paternalistic model into one really based on people and their values and their goals. I think we overdid it, because I think that we ignored the community, whether it was the family or that sphere of social network or a larger community. And so I want you to talk a little bit now as you think about it, as we've gotten older. And I think we're probably both pretty clear about what we would choose and not choose. How do you think those values, those competing values, should be balanced?
Why don't you ask an easy question for a change? One, because I'm part of an autonomy tradition, I have the comfortable place of being able to support, I want everything done imaginable, or the time has come to embrace palliative responses only. Both of those are more than reconcilable in my own head, albeit I recognize that there are traditions, including within Jewish tradition, that would say, no, if life is of infinite value, then the quality of life is a totally indifferent matter. But if there's anything that anchors me, it's that the strength of the American experiment is that individuals can, should, ought to have the right to make different responses to similar circumstances and not be judged other than by their conscience and their tradition. I think that, by the way, I think that's under assault in our society today.
I think it is as well.
And is highly problematic. Needs to be defended.
It probably will surprise you, but I quote you often, actually. And and one of the things that I remember you saying is that life is precious, so more life is more precious. But I use that to help people get to a place to talk about what does life mean to them. What is it that makes that precious?
Yeah. Can I use another image which as we continue on the life cycle, seems especially meaningful to me, and because my work means that I'm often with someone in their last moments, in the body. There's an image that comes out of Jewish mystical tradition, and anybody's welcome to borrow it. If you assume for a moment the only thing there is the ocean, there are waves on the ocean. Waves are part of the ocean before they are, waves are part of the ocean while they are, and waves are part of the ocean when they cease to be waves. The analogy, the ocean is the ground of being, the energy of life, to use the traditional Western word God, out of which all life is an expression. I almost said emerges, but it's an expression. Right now there's a wave on that ocean called Myra, a wave on that ocean called Michael. While I'm in the form of a wave, I have two life tasks. I'm constantly messing them up. One, by definition, I'm connected to all the other waves. Two, by definition, I'm never not connected to the source. But while I experience myself as separate and apart in body, I'm constantly messing up. When the wave returns to the source, that's what we call death.
But the good news is that this is the time of the celebration of Easter and Passover this year. And I think that from both traditions...
At least at the time we're making this historic video.
But I think that both traditions would accept what you just said.
Oh, yeah.
And that the source is love and relationship to others and respect for others. So I think we should wrap up, but I think you should come again, and you should come.
I would be
often,
delighted.
We would love that.